Okay, let's see. Sorry about that. I've been trying to get around to doing this for all most of this morning anyway. Uh, I'm still reading from um this Bible book. Um, Bible readings for the home. This is episode I think I saw 43, and ironically, which is really really weird. I know I hadn't read in a while. Um, things in my life has pretty much come around. But ironically, what I'm talking about ironically is this article, this first article that I'm reading. It says healing the sick. Um, my little brother has been in the hospital for a few days, and uh he I'm not sure what because they don't talk to me. I believe that he lost his little toe, and then they had to go. He had an infection, and so they had to go in and scrape all his art art some things, all his veins and arteries to get the bacteria out, bacteria out. So everything's been, and of course in my life, then I had to, had play practice, and of course I've been painting again, and I'm almost through. I got 7 more in this calendar to finish copying, and I'm using the gouache, and I got new paper that will make it 11 by 14. Um, and I'm trying this paper out, and you can go on to my eBay store and you can purchase them. Their fan art. Um, uh, and things have been just up in the air and everything. And I don't know about doing this blog because just the content that I'm doing is just reading a book in my horrible out reading, and that's what I did with the other 10 books that I read. But those had videos for those who like to look, and they were the children's books. And anyway, let me get back to the book. Okay, we are healing the sick. That's what the book is called. This article of the book. Question: For what will Christ finally con- commend the righteous? What for what will Christ finally recommend the righteous? Quote: I was sick, and ye visit me. Matthew 25:36. Remember, always double check me on the verses that I'm giving. I'm just reading from the book, and sometimes I do say the wrong verses because I don't know why I read like this, but I jump ahead and jump behind, and I have to read things 3 or 4 times just to even for me to click in. I've always done it. Okay, let's get back to the book. Question: What? Okay, with what is Christ touched? Quote: With the feelings of our infirmities. Hebrews 4:15. Question: What relief did he bring to Peter's household? Quote: And when Jesus was come to Peter's house, and he saw his wife's mother laying and sick with fever, and he touched her hand, and the fever left her, and she rose and ministered to them. Matthew 8:44. 14 and 15. Um, yeah, this little verse right here is in um, the TV show or the little movie Chosen. Um, and the minister ministered to him is she got up and she fed him. Okay, hold on for a second. I got a little baby that our mama wants to go outside, so give me a sec. Okay, I'm back. Just in case you didn't know, um, Vashti had 6 kittens. Well, 3 of them passed away, and then Tortoise had six. Well, Tortoise had it first. Tortoise had 6 kittens, and she only lost one. But Vashti lost 3 of her, so 3 of her little ones, and Vashti was the one that I let out. Her name is Vashta Nervada. Um, it's basically a fancy shadow or a flesh-eating shadow. Got it from a Doctor Who episode, and then of course her babies. Um, we have Elfie, um, Wednesday, and Nessa. And then tortoise babies, they're named after cookies. Grasshopper is a tortoise shell. And then Ginger Snap and Snickerdoodle are the little red men or orange boys. Uh, Ginger is darker than Snicker. And then we have the 2 black and white ones that survived. Um, Hydrox and JoJo. And the reason why we named the Hydrox and JoJo is then I wanted a Hydrox. And the original Hydrox was the one that passed away. Because she had 3 black and white kittens. So they were Hydrox, Oreo, and JoJo. And when the original Hydrox passed away, then we changed Oreo to Hydrox. So okay, sorry about that was kind of sad. And right now, Tortoise's babies are 4 weeks old or a month, and Vashi's will be a month Thursday, and Khan is about to have her litter, if she'll stay in. And of course, my big red cat Donnie, he's being hormone being a typical teenager with his hormones going off everywhere. Okay, sorry about that. Let me get back to the book. Okay, so we were at where uh Jesus healed Peter's mother-in-law. Okay, we got another question. How did Peter summarize Christ's ministry? Quote, who went about doing good and healing all that were by oppressed of the devil, for God was with him. Acts 10:38. Question: What should we not forget in our ministry for the sick? Quote, pray for one another that ye may be healed. The official fervent effectual fervent prayer is a righteous man of a righteous man avail much. James 5:16. In other words, pray for one another that ye may be healed, and a efficient, fervent prayer, which just means one that is sincere, That's what I was always taught, that the prayer has to be sincere. A sincere prayer of a righteous man avail, you know, conquers much. That's just what I was taught and how to read it. Okay, we'll go to next sub headline. It says God's ability to heal. Okay, question: what does the Lord declare Himself to be? Quote: I am the Lord that healeth thee. Exodus 15:26. Quote: who forgiveth all thine iniquities, who healeth all thy disease. Psalms 103, verse 3. Question: what was promised Israel on condition of obedience? Quote: and thou shalt therefore keep the commandments. Three dots, which is continue. And the Lord will take away from thee all sickness. Deuteronomy 7:11 through 15. Okay, let me step away and do a little tidbit. The three little dots, I just watched a Gen X video about somebody talking about the 3X, the three dots. We was, and yes, she was really right. We were taught that that just means continue. The three dots. I think it had a special name, but I forgot if she gave it a special name. I think she just called it continue. Because that's, to us, that's what it meant. Continue. Most folks now don't even know. Okay, let me get back to the book, and then we go into another subheadline. It says Old Testament experiences of healing. Question: when through disobedience Jacob's hand was withered, and by what means was it restored? Jeroboam. There, I got his name right. Jeroboam. When through disobedience Jeroboam's hand was withered, by what means was it restored? Quote: and the king answered and said unto the man of God, entreat now the face of the Lord thy God, and pray for me that my hand may be restored to me again. And the man of God sought the Lord, and the king's hand was restored him again, and became as it was before. 1 Kings 13, verse 6. Just think about it. They're considered leprosy, so his hand just shriveled up, just looked horrible and shriveled up. And he prayed. A man of God came and he talked to him and said what I must do, and then or asked the other pastor, preacher, or prophet to heal him, and the prophet did. He went to God and his hand restored back to normal. So, have you ever seen anything like that? Not really. I haven't. But some people have. And they talk about it. Okay, let's get back to the book. Okay. When Miriam was stricken with leprosy, how was she healed? Quote: and Moses cried unto the Lord, saying, heal her now, O God, I beseech thee. Numbers 12:13. Yeah, the reason why I'm to step out of, to get this contents, Miriam got jealous, according to what I read or was listening to, because I put the Bible on it. Bible on, and Miriam got jealous. She said, well, Moses saying, well, God talks to me all the time. Well, Miriam said, well, God talks to me too. And so she kind of got jealous. And that's why God, you know, struck her with the leprosy because, he was saying, I chose Moses, not you. And, that's what some people would say. But, Moses prayed for her and her leprosy disappeared. She still had to do the rituals. I mean, she still had to be out of the camp for 7 days and purified and all that. She still had to do it, get her the purification. But when she came back and she was whole, she was happy. I mean, I remember hearing that, reading it. Okay, question. What mistake did Asa make in his severe affliction? What mistake did Asa make in his severe affliction? Quote, and Asa in the 39th year of his reign was diseased in his feet until his disease was exceeding great. Yet in his disease he sought not to the Lord, but to physicians. 2 Chronicles 16, verse 12. So he sought after the physicians, not straight to the Lord. Okay? Question. How was a child restored to life by Elijah? This is the one with the J. Even though Elisha did the same thing. But this is the one with the J, which came first. The one with the J came before the one with the S. That's how I kind of remember it. But let me read the question again. How was the child restored to life by Elijah? Quote, and he stretched upon the child 3 times and cried unto the Lord and said, O God, my God, I pray thee, let this child's soul come into him again. And the Lord heard the voice of Elijah, and the soul of the child came to him again, and he revived. 1 Kings 17, 21, 22. Okay, let me clarify the Elijah and Elijah statement I was made. Elijah was the prophet of God. He's the one that had the mantle. He's the one who would do great things. He met Elisha, and Elisha said he wanted to do the exact same but double portion of what Elijah did. And God made sure that it happened because if you read the stories, because they kind of intertwine, you will see Elisha did the same thing as Elijah, but Elijah is the one that had the bald head. He's the one that brought down the bears to kill the folks, the little boys that were teasing them. Elisha was he's the one that was on a plow, and he goes and he kills his takes the breaks the yokes, kills the team of oxen as sacrifice, and he's the one that has if you read later on in the story, he's the one that had the servant who went out and tried to scam a person. Um, that's the only difference that I know, but you should. My advice is just read because it's the best thing to do is read. Okay, let me get back to this. How was Hezekiah Hezekiah's prayer for restoration from sickness answered. Quote, Thus saith the Lord, the God of David thy father, I have heard thy prayer. I have seen thy tears. Behold, I will add unto thy days 15 years. Isaiah 38, verse 5. So, and I'm sure it was through the prophet Isaiah, whoever the Lord answered it. Okay, now we go into another subheadline. Christ's work and prophecy thereof. Question. What constituted a large part of Christ's ministry? Quote, And Jesus went about all Galilee, teaching in their synagogues and preaching the gospel of the kingdom and healing all manners of sickness and all manners of disease among the people. Matthew 4:23. In doing this, what prophecy did he fulfill? Quote, He cast out the spirits with his words and healed all that were sick, and it would be fulfilled which was spoken by Elias, it says Elias, the prophet, saying, Himself took our infirmities and bare our sickness. Matthew 8:16 and 17. It says, it says Elias, but that's really supposed to be Elijah. It has the Esaias, Elias. It's supposed to be Elijah. Elijah. I know things get complicated. Okay, let me get back to what I was reading. Quote, question. In the case of the woman healed of an infirmity, what gave effect to her touching of Christ's garment? Quote, and he said unto her, Daughter, be of good comfort. Thy faith hath made thee whole. Go in peace. Luke 8:48. Question. Before sending out the 12, what power did Christ give them? Quote, Then he called the 12 disciples together and gave them power and authority over all devils and to cure disease. And he went and he sent them to preach the kingdom of God and to heal the sick. Luke 9:1 and 2. See also Matthew 10:1, 7 and 8, Luke 10:1 and 9. Okay. Now that is also makes a little if you've watched the little series, it is kind of a little funny if you think about it. My advice is to watch it because it really brings these two verses to get these two little verses together. I really don't want to say the show, but most people will. Okay. The next subheadline is healing in apostolic times. Apostolic, yeah. Healing in apostolic times. Question. What noble miracle was performed by the apostles shortly after the day of Pentecost? Quote, Then Peter said, brackets, to the lame man, in bracket, Silver and gold I have none, but such as I have such as I have give I thee. In the name of Jesus Christ of Nazareth, rise up and walk. And he took him by the right hand, and lifted him up, and immediately his feet and ankles bones received strength. And he leapt up, stood, and walked, and entered with them to the temple, walking, leaping, and praising God. Acts 3:6 and 8. If you actually would just think about it, a guy, um, I've been through many sermons about this. Just thinking, he's a guy that's been there forever and ever, and somebody gives you that glint of hope, and they said they don't have the money. His heart went down, and of course he probably did, like most people would, turn the face away. But to ignore them, to look to somebody else for help, I probably did. But you know, Peter brought his eyes back and reached out his hand and picked him up, and his ankles. I'm imagining his ankles were twisted in, or twisted where he couldn't walk, and then of course he's leaping and joyous and going to the temple, to glorify God, which this time he could, and he could say Jesus' name. Okay, give me a second. While she wants back in, give me a sec. Okay, it looks like it's gonna be in out in out in out, but did that. Okay, question. Among others, what gift did God set in the church? Quote, and God set gifts, and God hath set some in the church. First apostles, secondary prophets, thirdly teachers, after that miracle, then gifts of healings, helps, governments, diversities, and tongues. 1 Corinthians 12:28. We got a new subheadline. It says, Bible counsel to the sick. Question. In sickness, what is every child of God privileged to do? Quote, is any sick among you? Let him call for the elders of the church. Let him pray over him, anoint him with oil in the name of the Lord. James 5:14. And that's kind of that is what my church does. Question. Being of the assembly faith. The faith of the assembly, which is a branch of Pentecostal or evangelical. Your choice. Okay, next question. What assurance of blessing is given to those who ask according to God's will? Quote, the prayer of faith shall save the sick, and the Lord shall raise him up. And if he have committed sins, they shall be forgiven him. Verse 15. So that's James 5:15. Note, physical healing may not always be for our good or for the glory of God. Hence, we must be ready to pray to Jesus. Quote, nevertheless, not my will, but thine be done. End quote. Luke 22:42. Paul was denied the removal of infirmity, but the Lord assured him, quote, "My grace is sufficient for thee," end quote. 2 Corinthians 12:9. It is not a denial of faith to make use of the simple remedical means that God has given, or those ordinances essential upon which he makes life dependent. Proper food, pure air, rest, exercise, sunshine, medical care may be used of God in restoring health. And then of course it has but it's got big stars. Asterisks, 3 dots is separate because they got another sub thing right here, a sub headline. And it says wise counsel on visiting the sick. Quote, "It is misdirected kindness, a false idea of courtesy that leads to much visiting of the sick. Those who are very ill should not have visitors. The excitement connected with receiving callers worries the patient at times when he is in the greatest need of quiet, undisturbed rest. To a convalescent or patient suffering from chronic disease, it is often a pleasure and a benefit to know that he is kindly remembered. But this assurance conveyed by a message of sympathy or by some little gift will often serve a better purpose than a personal visit, and without danger of harm. End quote. From the Ministry of Healing, page 222. Okay. Now we go to another article, and it calls Order and Organization. Subheadline: The importance of order and system. Question: Of what is God the author? Quote, "For God is not the author of confusion, but of peace, as in all churches and the saints." 1 Corinthians 14:33. Question: Why did Paul give instruction to Timothy concerning the duties and classifications of bishops and deacons? Quote, "Those things I write unto thee," continue, "that thou mayest know how thou oughtest to behave thy in the house of God, which is the church of the living God, the pillar and the ground of truth." 1 Timothy 3:14 and 15. Question: What should everything pertaining to God work? How should everything pertaining to God's work be done? Quote, "And let all things be done decently and in order." 1 Corinthians 14:40. Note, quote, "Order in heaven's first law," end quote. Pope. In the scriptures, Christians are likened to soldiers, and their work to be of a warrior. uh, parentheses, 2 Timothy 2, 3 and 4, 1 Timothy 1:18, and Revelation 6:2, in quote, in parentheses, as order, organization, directions, and discipline are necessary in the army, so are they also in the church. The weapons used and the objects sought are different in each case. Parentheses, Romans 13:4, 2 Corinthians 10:3 and 4. But the necessary for order and organization are the same in both. Okay. Subheadline: Division of responsibility. Question: That the burden of judging and looking after the affairs of Israel might not rest on Moses, what instruction did Jethro, his father-in-law, give him? Quote, Moreover, thou shalt provide out of all the people able men, such as fear God, men of truth, hating controversy, controversiousness, and place such over them to be rulers of thousands, and rulers of hundreds, rulers of fifties, and rulers of 10, and let them judge the people at any season. And it shall be that every great matter they shall bring to thee, but every small matter they shall judge. So shall it be easier for thyself, and they shall bear the burden with thee. Exodus 18:21-22. Okay. Some of y'all may not even know the contents. Okay. Uh, Jethro, Moses' father-in-law. He was the priest of Midian, and then he was also a sheep herder. And he was the priest. So he was the spiritual person of Midian at that day when Moses, came and he married Eupora, I think his name, married her. So they already are out in the wilderness and they're traveling around, and they came to during the extra 40 years. So he came to Jethro, and Jethro saw that he was pretty much give out, and so he suggested it because that's what he did for his farm. He gave, so many sheep to one person, so many sheep to this person, and did it that way. Like he just said that some had 10. So 10 sheep, you could probably handle 10 sheep. Uh, one person could probably handle 10 sheep, and then you got more than 10 sheep. So you'll have to have more people to, I mean, even with the classes, like some of these classes that have big students that I remember going and substituting with, they had 2 teachers in the room. I mean, just think about it. I mean, could you have all that? Just like in a restaurant. Uh, Let me put it in a thing of a restaurant. You have a bus come through. A bus that has what 100 people in it. Said it was the band come in, and they order at Burger King. You gotta have at least 2 registers open, 2 to 3 registers open. I mean, when I was doing the food, doing the food thing, we had 2 indoor registers And then we had the drive-through. Drive-through totally focused on nothing but the orders that went out the window for the drive-through. People that didn't want to come out and eat in the dining room. And then, of course, the two uh, at the two registers at the dining room, which will get twice as many people out, especially when you get a like a band concert or you know that's where it came from. And I probably just confused the fire out of you, but that's what he was trying. Jethro was trying to say to Moses, and just break it up, break everything into bits and pieces, and you know that's what everything always says to do. And especially when you got anxiety and now I got this little app that says break it down. I mean, used to. Now that I'm starting to see things because I'm not able to work. I mean, I see things now because I have to break things down. Like now I have to take care of the house. The main thing I have to do, keep up. Well, I do procrastinate and I do have times that I forget and spin around and don't understand. Well, I got this thing that helps me put step by step by step. And I've always noticed that if I do step by step by step, it's a lot easier for me. But I probably didn't make any sense when talking about this. But that's what he just suggested, break things up so that it won't have to overwhelm you. And then whenever it's a really bad judgment that you had to do, uh, you know, the really huge one, you are prepared for it. All right, let's get back to the book. A question: how many apostles did Christ at first ordain to preach the gospel? Quote, and he ordained 12 that they shall be with him, and that he might send them forth to preach. Mark 3:14. Just think about that. That's what, Jesus' ministry was three, three, 3.5 years. Basically, yeah, it was 3.5 years. And he's got four gospels that, break it down. Four gospels that break it down. Mark was there. Matthew was the Levite that, you know, supported Mark. John was a disciple. And then, of course, Luke. Luke is the doctor, the one that goes analytical, the one had the analytical mind, and he did the reference and he did the identification and he did the research, and he's, you know, that's what you got. You got the one that was well, the two were witnesses with Jesus, and then and then Matthew, and then of course Luke, who's not in any of the disciples. I don't think. Wait, was Mark? I don't think Mark was in the disciples, but I know Matthew and John were in the disciples. Mark was probably an observant, a contemporary, and then Luke, of course, is after the fact, and he did the research and uh, it gets complicated when you do Bible stuff, and that just came to my mind. Okay, let's get back to the book. Sorry, I go in rabbit trails all the time. Go down one way and go down the other. Okay, I guess my brain's not, you know, organized enough. That's why I need books and stuff to try to organize. Okay, question. How many did he later appoint to this work? Quote, and after these things the Lord appointed another 70 or so, and sent them 2 by 2 before his face to every city and place, whither he himself would come. Luke 10, verse 1. So he first anointed the 12. That was with him. And then he appointed another 70 or so. So he 70, and he divided them in two, send them 2 by 2. 70 is a hard number to divide into. 2 by 2. So 40, 35 each. Yeah, 35. Yeah, because he sent the 12 2 by 2. My math is okay. Let's get back here. When the number of disciples multiplied, what instruction did the apostles give the believers that none might be neglected in the daily ministry of temporal necessities? Quote, wherefore, brethren, look ye not among you seven men of honest report, full of the Holy Ghost and wisdom, whom we may appoint over this business. Acts 6, verse 3. Note, the men thus selected were known as deacons. The lesson to be learned from this is that leaders and people should unite in planning and providing for the necessary organization of offering the church according to its growth and needs. This cooperation is again shown in the words of Paul. Quote, whomsoever ye shall approve by your letters, them will I send. 1 Corinthians 16:3. See also Acts 15:22. Question. What word came through the Spirit to the ministry prophets and teachers laboring at Antioch? Quote, as they ministered to the Lord and fasted, the Holy Spirit said, separate me, Barnabas and Saul, for the work whereunto I have called them. And they that had fasted and prayed and laid their hands on them and sent them away. Acts 13:2-3. Question. What is one of the gifts which the Lord set in the church? Quote, and God hath set some of the church, have set some in the church, first apostles, secondary prophets, thirdly teachers, and after that, continue, which is 3 dots, helps governments. 1 Corinthians 12:28. Note, the word here renders governments implies to work or office of, quote, steering, piloting, detecting, end quote. Question. For the directions of matters in each local church, what instruction did the Apostle Paul give to Titus? Quote, For this cause I For this cause left I thee in Crete, that thou shalt set in order all things that are wanting, and or, ordain elders every city, as I had appointed thee. Titus 1 verse 5. Okay. Another subheadline. It says relationship of members and leaders. Question. What instruction did he give to members of the church as to their relationship to those thus appointed? Quote, obey them that have the rule, brackets in the margin, guide, in bracket, over you, and submit yourself, for they watch for your souls, as they that give account, that they may do it with joy and not with grief. Hebrews 13:17. See also 1 Peter 5 and 5, Mark 10:42 through 45. Okay. Last question on this article. It says, what instruction and caution are given to elders? Quote, the elders which are among you I exhort, who am also an elder. Continue. Feeding the flock of God which is among you, taking the oversight thereof, not by constraint, but willingly, not by filthy lure, but of a ready mind, neither as being lords over God's heritage, but being examples of the flock. 1 Peter 5 1 through 3. Note, for the qualifications and duties of the elders, see 1 Timothy 3 1 through 3, Titus 1 6 through 9, Acts 12, Acts 20 28 through 31, and the scripture just quoted, which is 1 Peter 5 1 through 3. Now God regards rebellion against divinity, not divinity. How God regards rebellion against divinely appointed authority and leadership is illustrated in the expulsions of Satan and his angels from heaven, and in the fate of Korah, Dathan, and Abiram. Brackets, see Revelation 12 7 through 9, number 16, in parentheses. The unity and harmony which should exist among believers is described in St. John 13 34 35, St. John 17 20 through 23, and Ephesians 4 1 through 6. The evil of place seeking in the church is shown in Mark 10 35 through 45 and Luke 14 7 through 11, and of ecclesiastical tyranny in Daniel 7 25, Daniel 8, 24, 25, 2 Thessalonians 2, 3 and 4, and St. John 16, 2. The course to be pursued toward offending members, and in cases where differences arise, is pointed out in Matthew 18, 15 through 18, Matthew 5, 23 and 24, Galatians 4, 1, 1 Timothy 5, 19 and 20, Titus 3, 10 and 11, 1 Corinthians 5, and Acts 15. And the guidebook in all matters of both doctrine and discipline should be the Bible. Isaiah 8, 20, 2 Timothy 3, 16, 17, 2 Timothy 4, 1 and 2. That's a lot of stuff in that note, isn't it? Okay. And then we have a quote. It might be a poem. A quote poem. It says, quote, "Has anyone seen Christ in you today? Christian, look to your heart, I pray. The little things you have done or said, did they accord with the way you prayed? Have your thoughts been pure and words been kind? Have you sought to have the Saviour's mind? The world, with a criticizing view, has watched, but did it see Christ in you?" That's actually a lyric. Okay, let's go to this next one. It's got pictures of quarters and half dollars. Oh yeah, big time half dollars. It has quarters and half dollars pictured here, and some dimes. And they don't have the date. Well, they have 1901 on them on these half dollars, and then got the eagle on most of them. But most half dollars I've seen now have Kennedy on them and an eagle on the moon. I do remember that half dollar, but it has the picture of the half dollars and change, and it looks like all. Ooh, they even got a dollar. Yeah, I got a couple of dollars in here, and it says right here, the tenth is certainly the smallest part of our maternal material gain to render to God in recognition of his real ownership of all. Since, quote, "the cattle upon 1,000 hills," end quote, "are his, and daily he gives us life and ability to acquire wealth, we surely would not show such gross ingratitude as to rob him of the tithe." That explains the picture of all the dollars, the quarters, and the dimes. I think that's all silver. It's just the big pictures, a bunch of silver. Because I know most of those. I used to collect coins. I used to do a lot of things, and I know some of these are silver quarters because I do remember 1940s, 1943. I remember my grandma had those, and I got a few silver dimes now, and I've seen half dollars and I've seen these dollars. I never got to touch them, but I have got to touch the half dollars when I was doing the cashier cashiering. I got to see a lot of that was the most fun of being a cashier is getting foreign coins. That was one thing I did like is foreign coins. And especially if I had the actual coin in there in my pocket, I would actually buy the foreign coins. So I was honest. If I came across like a Canadian quarter and I had an American quarter, I would put the American quarter in there and, do it that way. I mean, I got somewhere around here it's supposed to have a Ethiopian, uh, Ethiopian. Oh no, I found a lot of quarters when I was doing the register work for the three places that I was doing, and that was fun. That was the one big point about being a cashier is the coins. That was just the time that I liked collecting coins. I lost most of them. I got a few now, but and then I had some buffalo nickels, and it was sad. And you know, I got so hard up that my husband knew I had collection of coins, collectible coins and stuff, but but he would use them for the face value, not the collectible, and he would actually steal my coins. I mean, we had what four $2 bills one time. I mean, literally four. And he got so hard up. I had to, he had to, and somehow he spent them all on his vice. All right, let me digress. I mean, that's what he did. I mean, I could remember that and stuff, but he was really he was a really good man. He had hard times and a lot of stuff. You know, uh, doubled down on him because he had a disability and he didn't want to be considered disabled, but he had so many limiteds on him because of his disability, and his disability was speech impediment, but then it also that was of cerebral palsy, and we didn't know until he applied the last when we got back together, and he found out that that's what was wrong with him, cerebral palsy, and he wanted to be considered normal. Oh, uh, let me get back to the book. Sorry, it just spun my little mind just spun, and then of course I got a little down about it, but it's what happens. It's what happened. Okay, we are in a new article. And this article says support of the ministry. I'm just doing this podcast pretty much on my own and everything, and I have a voice. I tried to get my husband to, he was preaching for a while, and then he gave up on it, mainly because his speech got a little too much. He got older, and so his and when he got excited, you can forget it when he got excited because then he would really slur a lot. But let me get here. Support of the ministry. That's the the title of the article. The first subheadline says God portion and its purpose. Okay? Question. What is one way in which we are commanded to honor God? Quote, honor the Lord with thy substance, and with thy first fruits, and with thy increase. Proverbs 3:9. Question. What part of one's income has the Lord specifically claimed as his? Quote, and all the tenth, and all the tithe, brackets, tenth, of the land, wherefore, whether of the seed of the land, or the fruit of the tree, is the Lord. It is holy unto the Lord. Leviticus 27, verse 30. Question. For whose purpose, for whose support, and for what work was the tithe devoted to Israel? Quote, behold, I have given the children of Levi all the tenth of Israel for an inheritance, for their service which they serve, even the service of the tabernacle and of the congregation. Numbers 18:21. So basically, the tithe actually goes to the preachers, the teachers, the people who pretty much give you the wisdom, the mind, the wisdom, the teaching, the whatever service to keep the building up. All the paperwork, like the my friend who's a secretary, her, you know, sending out flyers, recruiting people, uh, organizing for the pastors to get their notes together and all that. I mean, it's theirs. That's their work, their payment for work. But some of them, even they tithe. Also, they tithe to their work, even though they don't have to. But my before I get back to the book, my pastor, he hadn't been lately, but he's always said just I know things are really hard, and just give what you can, as and out of a good heart. I mean, granted, that's what we're supposed to, because this the tithe itself was Old Testament. Mainly, think about it. It's Old Testament, but even Jesus, he didn't have money when he even didn't even tell his disciples when they went out, the 12 and then the 70. He didn't have them to go out with money. They didn't have money. People came and gave it to him as payment to help him keep the ministry going. Just the thought of this is just what in the series that I'm watching, uh, they go and buy a field of olive trees, and then they press it and make it oil for the anointed oil. I mean, just think about that. Okay. Sorry, just jumping ahead in my brain. Okay, let's get back to the book. It says, okay. Question. How does Paul say the gospel ministry is to be supported. Quote, if we have shown unto you spiritual things, it is great things if we shall read your carnal things. Continue, or the three dots. You do ye know that they which minister about holy things live for things of the temple, and they which wait at the altar are partakers of the altar? Even so the Lord ordained that they which preach the gospel should live by the gospel. 1 Corinthians 9:11 through 14. Okay. Sub-article or sub-headline. Fundamental basics of tithe paying. Question. Upon what fundamental basics does the requirement of tithe paying rest? Quote, and the earth is the Lord's, and the fullness thereof, the world, and they that dwell therein. Psalms 24, verse 1. Question. Who is it that gives power to give wealth on this earth? Okay. Who is it that gives man power to get wealth on earth? Quote, but thou shalt remember the Lord thy God, for it is he that gives the power to get wealth. Deuteronomy 8:18. So, this is hitting home for me too, guys. Literally, because I'm pretty much working all this stuff, the artwork I do, and this podcast. I'm working it, and, I don't do what I need to do, and this is preaching to me a little bit. Preaching to me. Okay, question. What statement of Christ shows that man is not an original owner, but a steward of God's goods? Quote, for the kingdom of heaven is as a man traveling into a far country, who calls his own servant and delivered unto them his goods. Matthew 25:24. See also 1 Corinthians 4:7. 4 verse. Give me a moment, tongue right. See 1 Corinthians 4 verse 7. So, what this says, is, he's a man, is like a man that's, a businessman. He, gives it to his second in charge whenever he goes, and they are supposed to take care of it, um, as well as the manager. Well, yeah, like the manager. Like, here's how it was. I can remember the photography. That's the earliest one. It was always, or I can use the substitute. You always had the teacher, and then when the sub comes in, we had to follow what the teacher had. All the rules, all the stuff, and of course we had to incorporate it with the company that we was working with too. So, and then I backstepped to the photography the same way, since I was the floater for the district floater. which is the assistant to the district manager, I would have to go and cover a store. One store had I would have to cover the store, and then I stepped back to go to the restaurant industry. I had to go and learn all the techniques, watch all the videos of each position that I was got to. And then a step further back, in the college, the same way. You had to learn what you had to do for the college. Like like even though I knew how to draw and and paint and stuff, but you know, he would give us extra things and stuff and to learn to do differently. Just like I had to work in the uh, college, I had to study, and the work study what I did is more in the food service. So I had to, you know, the first year we had to do the the bucket, the slop bucket. We had to put all the food in a big slop bucket. Later on, we got to catch the the dishes in the hot kitchen. We had to catch the dishes, and then stack them and separate the silverware and separate all the silverware, like all the spoons and all the forks and the knives and the glass cups. We had glass cups. I mean, you could see the our drinks would, and then all that. So okay, sorry, I ran off, and I don't even know where I'm going. Okay, here we go. Uh, New subheadline: History of tithing. History of paying. Well, this deals the same thing what I said. Okay, question: How early in history of the world do we read of tithe paying? Quote: For this ecclesiastic, king of Salem, the priest of the Most High, who met Abraham returning from the slaughter of the kings, and blessed him, to whom also Abraham gave a tenth part of all. Hebrews 7 1 and 2. See also Genesis 14 17 through 20. So the first recording of a tenth of all Abraham had was Ecclesiastic, king of Salem, king of peace, a priest of the Most High, and Abraham was returning. So he gave the tenth of everything that he got. Okay, question. What vow did Jacob make at Bethel? And Jacob vowed, quote, and Jacob vowed a vow, saying, if God will be with me, I will keep me in this way that I go, and will give my bread to eat and to put on, raiment to put on, so that I come again to my father's house in peace. Then shall the Lord be my God. Continue with 3 dots. And of all that thou shalt give me, I will surely give thee a tenth unto thee. Genesis 28 20 through 22. Subheadline: Curse or blessing? Question: Of what is one guilty who withholds the tithe and free will offerings? Quote: Will a man rob God? Yet ye have robbed me. But ye say, Within wherein have I robbed thee? In tithe and offering. Malachi 3:8. Okay? Question. Sorry, I got a cold. Question concerning what does the Lord ask us to prove him, and upon what conditions does he promise great blessings? Quote, Bring ye all the tithes unto the storehouse, that there may be meat in mine house, and to prove me now howwith, saith the Lord of hosts, if I will not open you the windows of heaven, and pour you out a blessing, that there shall be no room enough to receive it, and I will rebuke the devourer of your of I will rebuke the devourer for your sakes, and he shall not destroy the fruits of your ground, neither shall the vine cast her fruit before the time in the field, saith the Lord of hosts. Verse 10 and 11. Malachi 3, verse 10 and 11. That, just think about it. And that's what my pastor always did. It says prove. Prove. Just do a little bit. Don't you don't have to do the that's what he says. He says you don't have to do the full amount. Do the 1%. Then or the up to the 10. I mean, just or do the 99. The 99 and just keep the 1%. Because I've heard some people that's what they do. They give the bigger percentage, the 90%, to God and try to live off the 10. I've heard that stories before too. Okay, so I've heard a lot of things, and I've seen a lot. I've seen a lot, like you know, like the song goes. I've seen enough. I've seen a lot of things. I'm old enough to see, old enough to see things. Um, let's see how long we got left. We got two more articles, and then we'll uh be in part 14. No, part 15. So, flipping through the pages, I just found uh, I know who this artist is who did this one. It's a Norman Rockwell. Yeah, I've seen this painting before, and I've seen what they said he did to why his stuff looks so, you know, realistic is because he actually projected the images of he got real people to act out the scenes, and then he projected them on the paper with all the props and stuff, and then he went in there and painted. I mean, he still used the tool of the projection. Alright, give me a second and I'll be back. Okay, I'm back and I have decided to go ahead and end this here before starting any of the other two uh, articles in this book because I was thinking of doing something else and I found that my friends I could actually watch it on something a show I like to watch. So I'm gonna find it and watch it and see how well my friend, well, she's good, uh, what my classmate did and everything. And um, that's it. Just keep everything, everything in prayers and everything, and uh, even pray for my brother. I'll just give you his name. His name is Herschel, and it's not spelled with the C. It's the way my mama wanted to spell it. So, and it's spelled Herschel. Herschel. That's what it's not spelled like my great grandpa's name. I mean my grandpa's name, or the normal way with a C. Um, but anyway, just pray for him, and pray for us, and pray that all our finances gets to turn around and get so that my daughter can get ready for college, and means and ways to get rid of these little kittens and give, well, I'm gonna give them away anyway. And that's basically it. And uh that's all I want to do, and I'll try to keep up better than what I've been. um I got these um sponsorships on here, so y'all can always try it that way. I've never tried to ask for a sponsorship, but I do need sponsorships for a lot of things, and or support and sponsorship. But you can always do that by buying uh some of my drawings and paintings on my store and everything. And I'll talk to you the next time. Later.